Microphone.
Oh. I always forget microphone, so I guess my voice is loud enough to. I don't need a microphone, do I?
I think you do. Your voice is loud, but it doesn't translate to the rest of the world.
Oh, I'll speak louder. So, hello everybody, and welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict Show. So excited to be with you. We got an interesting topics to cover today.
Yeah.
What are those, Elizabeth?
All right. So we have, first of all, France is pulling all the way out of Niger. Their military, their ambassador, their power center in Niger, they're pulling out entirely.
So, as they say in French, la fin.
La fin.
C'est la fin. Meaning
Absolutely.
It's the end.
The next one is that the U.S. has begun or delivered 10 of the 31 promised tanks, these Abrams tanks. So there are a couple big things to that, including how much that's actually going to cost taxpayers, which is something that has not exactly been disclosed.
Yeah.
And this is a big deal, especially between the two parties here in the U.S. that are kind of fighting for that to happen and not to happen.
Indeed.
The next is that the U.S. Oh, this one's juicy. This is a big, juicy one. The U.S. is planning a military base in a very disputed territory in Venezuela. And they have been, the United States and ExxonMobil have been accused by the Caracas foreign minister, the Venezuelan foreign minister, that it has to do with oil. Wow,
so what's
interesting.
new, right?
A military base to secure oil. Let's see.
But there is something else also.
There is. I'm very interested.
I just found that out last night.
Well, you guys stay tuned with us for the rest of the show to see what that is. And then finally, Indonesia is de-dollarizing in a very serious way, to the extent that it has a national task force for de-dollarization. And Indonesia is a large economy. Granted, it's no US and it's no China, but it is still a large economy. So it's the latest in the larger economies that is actively de-dollarizing.
Well, I'm not surprised, because a year and a half ago, we talked about that one.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago. And we said, mark our words, just a matter of time, you will see this process in movement. So, well, great. So we're going to be tackling those issues, those topics, rather, not issues for you. By the way, somebody has asked, can we please do the segments for the videos? We're already doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're already doing that, just to, because I like to respond to I was asking, can we please, because some of us don't have time, whatever. I said, no, we're already doing that. That's the reason why we picked 2 or 3 or even 4 topics, so we can have you watch whatever you like. So, and speaking of watching, please, if this is your first time, make sure to subscribe. We'll greatly appreciate your support. It means a lot to us.
Absolutely.
I also wanted quickly, just some housekeeping thing. Tonight, it's the 2nd chapter of the government course, right?
Absolutely, it is. So the government course, guys, David is teaching it live. And it is about how the U.S. government actually works, not the way you think it works, but the way that it actually works. So check it out. The link is geopoliticsinconflict.com/US. And there's a coupon code for 20% off if you want to join in. There's another month and a half of the course. So if you want in and you want to ask David questions live, and you want to find out how the U.S. government actually works, tune in.
And also, isn't that where, if people sign up for it, they get a free copy of...
well, okay. So guys,
something, she just surprised me with this, and I was like, heck yeah, you do give this to our whomever sign up for this stuff. So.
This has nothing to do with the course.
Oh, it doesn't.
It does not.
Oh, it tells you how much I know, right?
That's okay. So guys, we're giving away David's book, Fall of the House of Saud, Beneath the Veil. We're giving it away for free. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you being with us. So just go to geopoliticsinconflict.com/Saud and just sign up. It is completely free. We won't spam you. Unsubscribe anytime. But yeah, we're giving away the entire book for free. We sort of figured that this would be a nice thank you to you guys who have been with us for a while.
Yeah, and they've been with us since the beginning. We truly appreciate you guys. We truly appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So. All right, let's dive into our first topic about France. As we say in French language, c'est la fin.
Yep.
It's the end for France, not just in Niger. This is, to me, is the beginning, because you're looking at other parts in Africa, because as you know, France has made a deal with other powers back then, how to divide Africa, as far as, you're talking about the Dutch, the Belgians, the Americans to a degree, the British, but France was mainly over there. What I'm referring to, you got two countries up north in North Africa, Algeria and Morocco. Those were former colonies of France. And one thing that Algeria already embarked on is that they switching the language from French into English. Morocco is in the process of, they're gonna move on it, and I believe Morocco will move forward with this. And that's usually signals the end. So with Niger, of course, it was a different starting up with the revolution that took place. They said enough is enough. And I think now the big question as an analyst we need to ask is, will other countries follow suit?
That's a fantastic question. And, Niger wasn't the first. So first of all, would you guys like to watch Macron saying this stuff? Because the reason that he gives for pulling out is not the same reason that I think that everyone is thinking that it is. Okay, so here is Macron. Man, I hope you guys can hear that. Oh, no, you can't. Here's why.
Avec les autorités de fait du Niger, car elles ne veulent plus lutter contre le terrorisme.
C'est donc la fin de la présence.
La France a décidé de ramener son ambassadeur. Et donc, dans les prochaines heures, notre ambassadeur, avec plusieurs diplomates, rentreront en France. Et nous mettons fin à notre coopération militaire avec les autorités de fait du Niger, car elles ne veulent plus lutter contre le terrorisme.
C'est donc la fin de la présence française militaire au Niger.
Elle sera organisée dans le temps, dans les semaines à venir, mais c'est la fin de cette coopération. Parce que nous ne sommes pas là pour participer à la vie politique, pour être les otages en quelque sorte de putschistes.
Interesting.
Je vais être très clair. On le voit déjà aujourd'hui au Mali.
Quand
ils vont rentrer de manière ordonnée dans les semaines et les mois qui viennent. Et là, nous concerterons avec les putschistes parce que nous voulons que ça se fasse dans le calme.
Mais d'ici la fin de l'année.
Mais d'ici la fin de l'année. La France a
décidé. It's interesting. That's interesting to me for a couple of reasons. What do you think, David?
He's manipulating the speech itself. So, because here's the thing. If you look at another statements, which I found the one from him directly, this is quote from Macron himself. He said, and I quote, "We are putting an end to our military cooperation with the de facto authorities in Niger because they don't want to fight terrorism anymore." End of quote. That is BS. It has nothing to do with terrorism, because why France wants to do this is because the terrorism, you remember the war on terrorism, they justify it. No, it's a flat out lie. What he didn't want to admit is that they've been kicked out officially because they don't. As a matter of fact, one French general in the military, he said, this is the end of Macron.
Yeah.
But also because you have to take into consideration also the domestic politics in France. And who's pushing for the next elections? Marine Le Pen. Marine Le Pen is from the far right.
Yep.
What do you notice in Europe as a whole? The rise of far right.
Yep.
You look at it like
same in the United States, actually.
Yeah. You look at it like in Czechoslovakia, for example. They just had the demonstrations in Prague. You know what they're asking for? The resignation of the entire government. And they want to pull out of NATO. That's what they are asking for. Yeah. You look at same in Spain, in Italy, even in Italy.
Oh, absolutely. Right, absolutely.
So now you're seeing this one here, because here in France, it's major one, being a major European economy and a key player in the NATO. While Marine Le Pen said the first order of business, you know what it's going to be? Pulling France out of NATO.
Yeah.
I remember when I was reading back in history back then when Charles de Gaulle threatened to pull France out. As a matter of fact, he pulled France out of NATO and put it back in. But we realized, this is different.
Yeah.
It's different time and different setting. For Africa now, they're looking at it as a renaissance, a new beginning, shall we say. And this is where you look at in Niger, they are moving forward. Because here's the thing, ECOWAS couldn't do squat about it.
Yep.
And what
they sure could not.
They
They
couldn't.
couldn't do
They
anything
couldn't.
about it. And frankly, if they could have, they would have, I think.
Yeah, they couldn't.
And that's how you know they absolutely could not have.
And this is why Macron is pushing the narrative of terrorism. I am not denying that there are some cells over there, but here is the key that I need you guys to know. We are the one controlling those cells. In other words, we can unleash them if we want to. And because just take a step back and think about this. How come U.S. interests are still there, untouched, unharmed?
Great
question. No word about the U.S.
Yep.
But we kind of decided let France, throw France under the bus, and now they're being kicked. Niger didn't ask for U.S. to be out.
Great. That is a very good point. Yeah. Why? Because the U.S. also has a base there.
We have two for drones.
Right.
And that was, by the way, FYI, is the same issue that led to the ouster of the Prime Minister of Pakistan back then, Imran Khan, because Imran Khan refused to allow Pakistan territory, the establishment of a drone base in Pakistan, that he said no to the U.S. And we all know what happened to Imran Khan. So in Niger, there are two bases. I used to travel to Djibouti and I went to Ivory Coast. And so I've been around that neighborhood, per se, back in the day. The whole Sahel area, from Mauritania all the way to the Red Sea. This is why, guys, you notice something going on in that area. You know what it is? Is that everybody is cozying up to Mauritania.
That's right very interesting. Why is that?
Because NATO's presence is there, is emerging. That is why. So France now is saying, oh, let's just throw the word terrorism.
I know.
No, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they all can deal with that because they are locals. They know how to handle this.
Yeah.
As long as France and the like do not foment.
Right.
Because we've done, we dealt with this before.
Yeah.
We used to, like in Syria, for example, we will push one group against another because we are providing weapons and all that stuff. It's the same thing we could do in Asia also.
I think there's a movie. If you guys haven't seen Lord of War, check it out because it's basically that, right?
Yeah.
It's talking about, basically arming both sides.
Yeah. So here's the thing now that is happening. So when Macron said, well, in the next few weeks, months, but officially by the end of the year, guess what the military junta in Niger said? It said, no. We're going to put a deadline on this. It's that time, because, which is a smart move. You know why? If they allow France to go all the way to the end of the year, things could.
Yeah.
They said, no, we put in a time limit. And that's the right approach.
Absolutely.
You out. Not next month, not next year. You out the next day or next 48 hours, whatever you can get your equipment.
Yeah, by the end of the year. There's a lot left in this year.
There's a lot. I know. That's why France was saying that. So there is another major element that I want you guys to be aware of. And you know what it has to do with?
What?
Commercial flights.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Niger issued an order that its airspace is closed to
commercial flights.
French airlines.
Oh.
Only
that
French
makes
airlines.
sense.
Yeah. Which means what? If France violates the airspace, they can get shut down. So, but it was a statement by a French magazine. It's, je pense, France 24. Je me rappelle. If I remember, that's what it was. And it stated, I was shocked that it came from France itself. It says, and they put it in quote, they said that the military junta in Niger banned the air commercial for France, but not other countries. All other countries can operate.
Yeah.
And this is why now you're seeing this really push towards France is over. Even in Morocco, believe it or not, the earthquake, the devastating earthquake that just happened, which was very devastating. One of the French minister was appealing to the people. Why? Because Morocco refused to take aid from France.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, because they want to humiliate Moroccans. That's what the French wants to do. And first of all, why would you appeal to the people when there is a government in Morocco?
Right.
You go through the proper channels. So And Morocco said, no, we don't need your aid. Thank you. Morocco took the aid from Spain, England, and I think 2 other countries. I couldn't remember which ones. But they said to France, thanks, but no thanks.
Well, we are watching the end of colonialism.
Exactly.
Right? This is the absolute end of colonialism. It's taken a while. And I remember, I also speak French fluently, and I went to French school most of my life. And I remember that, France used to be the universal language. I mean, do you remember that wasn't that long ago that France was the universal language? And now France is getting kicked out of everywhere because Niger isn't the first place it got kicked out of.
And that's exactly what is happening between these two, not between, but rather the 2 North African countries. They decided, okay, kick France out.
Yeah.
French language, French everything, and embark on the English language. What I found also interesting was the statement by the what's his name, the spokesperson for military junta in Niger said, and I quote, because it's very interesting: words, guys, means a lot if you know really within their proper context. Here's what it said, and I quote: imperialist and neo-colonialist forces are no longer welcome on our national territory. The new era of cooperation based on mutual respect and sovereignty is already underway. End of quote. That's, to me, loud and clear message. And this is not just to France, but also, because remember, the key word there was also cooperation based on mutual respect. Which country is involved in Africa with a lot of ventures?
China, and also Russia. I mean, both
but mainly China is but also the idea of the sovereignty.
Yeah,
this is what they are referring to. Because here's the thing: there's a conversation that's been circulating recently. They said rumors, but it's not a rumor. Rumors is a fact because I was aware of it. And they said that now Mali received armored vehicles from China. Which is true. But here's the thing: that shipment took place in March.
So they've had it
for a while. So it's not a rumor, it's a fact.
Well, and it's very interesting talking about the timing of this, right? So we talked about the timing of not only this coup or whatever you want to call it, but the fact that over the last couple of years, as China has been investing more and more and more in Africa, that's how you're starting to see these countries fall, because they're finding this strength from somewhere. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I am saying is that it's interesting to put those two together.
Well, that's why I argued a few years ago that Africa will become another geopolitical ring where competition among major powers is going to be fierce.
Well, and so, but why, right? The question is always why. And the answer to that is resources in 2 ways. The first is that Africa is one of the only places in the world that actually has a growing population. So most of the Western world has a shrinking birth rate. So a shrinking population. And China faces this to a very severe extent. And so you're looking at who is going to be the next China. And when I say the next China, I mean, China built itself off of more or less a growing cheap labor force. And so right now, though,
but also China innovated, also created its own. So
well, they did and didn't, right? So
how?
So China gets a lot of heat for stealing technology, which is, I think that's very true. China,
but don't we do the same?
Right, but that's the point that I was going to make, is that everybody steals from everybody. So this is not just a one-way street where China stole technology and nobody else did. Everybody does that. So that's not this big crazy thing that it's made out. I mean, it is, because don't steal things from other people, but everyone is doing it. So it's not isolated. It's not the only thing that's happening there. But Africa is also rich in natural resources. And so when France is talking about, they just don't want our help with terrorism anymore. And that's not really what's going on. I mean, what's going on really, and even some of the mainstream news channels were very clear that gold, uranium, and oil are the biggest resources coming out of Africa, especially trying to go into the EU. And Africa's like, no more. You guys are taking advantage of us. We're not doing this anymore.
And this is where you see that change coming up.
Yeah.
Speaking also of, briefly, before we jump to the next topic, is that the role of the ECOWAS,
Absolutely.
Well, ECOWAS was still threatening military. But what happened? What happened is when they realized that you got 4 other or 5, they back down. And this is where you see the reversal of now it's all about terrorism. Yeah. That is the key, is that ECOWAS finding out, I ain't gonna go in. It's not gonna go well for them, because France was pushing ECOWAS from behind. Remember, as I argued once, on whose behalf ECOWAS is operating.
Right, so not on their own.
Yeah, it's becoming clear. Even now, I got a word that now there are tensions in Nigeria from within. Yeah. People are start to question their president, Tinubu, I think his name. The guy who's been pushing for the ECOWAS. Now they're realizing, something is off here. So because this is why I say it's a new era in Africa.
Right.
The question that's going to be moving forward is how they're going to proceed.
Yeah.
And I really hope these young leaders will get it together.
I agree.
And stay away from this power hungry for power and greed and all, because that's what ruined Africa.
Absolutely.
All the previous one, Omar Bongo, what's his name? What was his name? It was well known in Africa. I drew a blank. He died in Saudi Arabia, believe it or not. I drew a blank.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it'll come to me. He was notorious, but also for corruptions. And this is what I'm saying. Idi Amin.
Yes.
Idi Amin. Yeah. Africa has always resources, but this is now where these young generations.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I just learned yesterday also, I do read up before I'll show up in studio.
Really? No
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That's
it just
joke.
falls on my head, right? That Ibrahim Traore, the guy in Burkina Faso, he's already now putting projects in place for his country.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only 36 now. The question even for him, I will ask, is he going to be now one of those forever presidents, or will he be wise, serve a term after they do elections there or whatever, serve a term, turn it over to the next person.
Absolutely.
And make it. Now, if people wants to vote for him again, it's their prerogative. Right. He's serving his country. So this is what I say. It's a turning point, but it's a very bad ending for French colonial.
Yep. Well, and honestly,
that's
okay. That's
about time. It's about
time. And it's hard, probably even to argue to the French people that colonialism is still good. We've watched what colonialism has done over and over again. And if Africa was better off for colonialism, then that would be one thing. But it's not. It's way worse off for colonialism.
Because it was never win-win for both. So.
No.
All right.
It's never intended to be.
Indeed. Let's move on to our next topic.
All right. Next topic is the first U.S. Abrams tanks arrived in Ukraine. And Russia has basically declared open season on them, which means that they might get taken out.
Well, they will. It's not I think it's not they might. They will.
I agree.
Because both the Leopard from Germany and the Challenger, I believe, from UK.
Challenger, yeah.
Well, the Abrams tanks. As a matter of fact, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, said, well, we hope that they won't be attacked and we get them back. Like, you ain't getting anything back. Pushing. Do you think people just going to sit and take it? No, they won't. They're going to be pushing back. I think militarily, from a military perspective, the Russians going to target, and it's so easy for them to target.
It is. And even let's see, I have a quote from someone talking about that, but the thing that I really want to point out about this is that each of those tanks cost, according to Reuters, cost over 10 million, including training and upkeep. So that if there's 30, so 10 have been delivered. Okay, so that's $100 million. Very quick math there. And 31 have been promised, which means that is $310 million more that have been promised.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate right now going on about whether continuing to fund the situation in Ukraine is the right call, especially considering how much people here in the United States are suffering. There's even a giant, so this is maybe something to talk about on Rumble, but it turns out that the US is not actually only funding military. They're also funding small businesses in Ukraine. We're also funding all of their
government
salaries, and then emergency workers. So apparently 57,000 emergency workers, we are paying their entire salary. So this is not just, and during a potential government shutdown, apparently the Ukrainians that we are funding will still keep being paid while US government workers won't be. So there's a very interesting conversation going on here. And so, $100 million more dollars to Ukraine, and this didn't come as a budget, this didn't come as a budget question. This is we promised you this, and here they are. And they're probably going to get destroyed. And there's no guarantee that they're going to actually push the front line. There's no guarantee that they're going to lead to a win for Ukraine.
They will never win. That's the thing. This is the harsh reality that the Biden administration is. I'm sure they know it. They knew it. They knew there is no way Ukraine will defeat Russia. So the other question for us is, why the waste?
That's a great question.
If we look at the images at the border, what's taking place right now?
Oh my God.
I mean, shame on our government. I don't shy away from saying it, and I don't give a damn about the government, what they think, because what they are doing, it's not right.
Yeah.
This is not how America ought to be.
No.
That's it defies logic. You look at those corrupted, you got now a senator. He's been involved in corruption.
Wow, what is
he found it. But here is the thing. He refused to resign.
Yeah.
That shows you how corrupted the system is. Why are we giving the senator more platform to talk? Put his ass in jail. If he breaks the law, give him or her fair trial, because we are a country of law.
Absolutely.
And put him in jail for a long time and confiscates all the assets.
Absolutely.
So straightforward. There is no if and buts. But again, that just gives you an idea here that there is one set of laws for some and another set of laws. And so where is the justice in the system that is so-called being democratic? You call a spade a spade. It pains me to say what I'm saying because it's my country. But at the same time, you can't shy away from, I have to be cherry picking what I'm saying. No. I don't give a damn for what the government thinks, because we are seeing where things are headed. And that's the policies. But again, it's not just the government to blame. We are to take part of the blame also, because we're the one who vote them in.
Right.
You get what you vote for.
Absolutely. And also what you stand for. So really, I think in the deal with these tanks, you may think, it's just a tank. It's just $10 million. But 31 of these, Biden has promised 31 of these. And there is so even when they're talking about what the contribution these tanks will be. So 2 U.S. officials explained to the New York Times, more M1 Abraham tanks will be sent in coming months. The Abrahams will be among other tanks in Ukraine's arsenal that it could use to push in and possibly reclaim Russian-held territory in Ukraine and eastern and southern regions, where fighting has gone on the ground for months without major breakthrough. So this is another big thing. So right now, even the U.S. officials are saying the counteroffensive hasn't been successful. It really is at a stalemate. So for what is this? And they didn't send all 31, so it's not some big push at once, right? They're sending 10, I guess, to see if they get destroyed. I don't know what.
Which they will.
Then those 10 got destroyed. We have to send 20 more, or we have to send 10 more. And so it's another 100 million. It's another 100 million. And Rand Paul actually said this, Senator Rand Paul, he said something like, as if nobody was noticing We don't have the money to send to Ukraine.
So you're going to borrow from China?
Yeah, borrowing from China to send to Ukraine doesn't make sense.
But isn't China the enemy? How come we're borrowing from?
That's a great question. That's a great question, right? So we've had Janet Yellen, we've had all of these government officials going to China more or less to ask for more money, more or less to say, hey, don't screw up our economy by not investing anymore, and then also not sending us our stuff anymore, right? So there's a double edge that's going on here. There's double speak that's going on here. But he makes a great point. We do not have it in the budget to send to Ukraine anymore. Not that I think we ever did, but we're borrowing money to do that.
Well, it's again, we get what we voted for. So, but again, the system is corrupted. I've said this many times before. I don't like to repeat myself, but the idea of you look at it now, just two parties controlling the political process.
Yeah.
Since when in a democracy you have that?
Well, I mean, absolutely.
Ridiculous.
And it's the illusion of choice, right? Because I think that faced between Biden or frankly Donald Trump, people wouldn't choose either. Like if you had another candidate, people would probably choose a different person. And so it's the illusion of choice. Do you have this one bad choice or do you have this other bad choice? Which do you choose?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's been Republican, Democrat for
the last 150 years.
Right.
150 years.
Right. And it would be, in its own sense, maybe naive to think that those people don't work together in some ways, right?
Oh, no.
It's naive, I think, to think that everything is done out in public, out in the open. I think that's naive to think that.
No.
And that's never been done throughout all of history. So what makes us think that's been done right now?
It will be,
Do you know?
So for this issue of the tanks, we're going to start hearing the news soon. And by the way, it's not going to be reported here first. It's going to be reported by some other independents that the tanks will be sort of destroyed. Wow. And this is exactly what's her name? The foreign minister of Germany, Annalena Baerbock, when the Leopard were pulverized, they said, oh, those are not German tanks. Those are Ukrainian tanks. It's kind of Abrams. The thing is, what a lot of people do not know is that the Russians have major, their numbers, I couldn't remember the exact number of tanks.
Yeah.
They are massive. As a matter of fact, just since the conflict started, Russia has been producing ammos and all that 7 times higher than
we were going to do a show on that, but I don't know if YouTube would be okay with that. So we're going to do it on Rumble maybe, but
7 times, and just shows you right there. So this is another hype just to push, which also indicates to you the thinking inside Washington or NATO for that matter, as far as prolonging the war.
Absolutely. So. And I think that's actually, so this is my theory. Okay. This hypothesis is my theory only. But, it's interesting to me that they didn't send all of them. And, the reason might be because, we're, budgetary conscious. That's if you're conscious of the budget, you've done a really bad job. Okay.
Yeah.
But, it's so that it isn't a stronger counteroffensive.
Do you want a quick answer to that?
Yeah.
It's because our presidential election is coming up.
Yeah.
So in case the Democrat loses, which most likely they will, they're going to blame it on the Republicans that they didn't pursue.
Yeah.
If the Democrats win, they're going to see, we started, so we're going to have to keep going.
Yeah.
So they're trying to play both sides, and it's the system is till Americans wake up.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they will ever. Not all of us, of course, some, but they just too.
People tend to wake up as things get really bad.
So it has to be very bad.
But the thing is, it is getting very bad.
They are not realizing that.
Right. And that's how people are starting to wake up.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a side, but it's also the same situation. So my fiance loves football. So, we watch football. Football is so full of advertisements. So I think we were laughing the other day because it was the brand. I'm not going to say the brand, but it was like the branded timeout.
Yeah.
And it's like every single thing we're being milked And there's going to be a turning point where we can't be milked any further.
Anymore. Yeah.
And I feel like we're getting there because nothing is abating. The pressure is just more and more and more.
Well, change is good. Sometimes when things show cracks, you tear it down and rebuild. I just want to add one more final thought on this before we jump into the next one. All this shipments of the 10 tanks coincided with the US allocating money for Poland.
Yes.
They're two separate, you know, but also because Poland sort of expressed publicly that it will stop its military assistance to Ukraine. Huge. So could it be that the US is bribing Poland by $2 billion? But also there is one thing going on in Poland, which is the upcoming elections.
Yep.
So their president Duda, whom I believe the Polish people are fed up with, they're like, because he pushed Poland into the
he did, and the reality of Poland is that they have more refugees, Ukrainian refugees, that they're taking good care of. From what I can tell, they're taking right.
And we saw
they're taking very good care of those refugees. Like Poland has really done its due duty. Poland has done a wonderful job, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Okay, for the Ukrainians. The problem is this has now gone on for almost 2 years. And so something that was, you know, it's interesting. We get the, 2 weeks to, slowly we get told that things are going to be a very short amount of time, and then they're not. So now we're pushing on 2 years, and there's only so long you can keep doing this, right?
Well, this is why Polish farmers are pissed now at the Duda, because I don't think so they're going to vote for him again, because they're shutting down their businesses regarding the grain. Because the EU forced Poland to open up its market for the grain, and the local farmers in Bulgaria, in Slovakia, in I think of course Poland. There's another country, a fourth one. They're saying enough is enough. We're done with this nonsense. So they are not allowing. So this is where I just find it very ironic that at the same time we're sending a tank, at the same time we are allocating $2 billion.
So that's something we'll probably talk about on Thursday. You guys, we may have a guest, stand by. But to talk about that specifically, because you're absolutely right. The timing of the US giving this loan, this $2 billion loan to Poland is impossible to ignore.
Indeed.
It's impossible to ignore.
So, and that is why American people are always going to be wondering, is that where our tax money is spent on?
Well, and here's the thing.
Right.
It feels like it doesn't feel like it isn't just our tax dollars, right? So the big problem that the US has right now is that we are running out of money. And I don't understand this. I don't understand how the budget is allowed to be over. We have no more money.
It's crooked politicians.
Right? And over by a lot. I think our overage this year alone is going to be $1.5 trillion. That's insanity.
We might do another topic on this some other time. So, all right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay. Would you like to listen to?
Let's listen to that.
All right. So the quick topic is the U.S. is actually planning a military base in a disputed part of Venezuela.
There's the picture of it right here, quickly, just for you guys to see. This is the area in Venezuela. Yeah,
it's beautiful, beautiful. But the deal with it is that this area is rich in oil.
Well, Venezuela is an oil producer.
Yes. So, wow. Oh my gosh. There's a military base plan there. Wow. What a surprise. Okay. So let's listen in on it. Let's see. I got you. No, that's the wrong guy.
He's gone.
He's gone. Okay. Let's take a listen.
Today, the government of the United States of America seeks to appropriate our oil resources by using the company ExxonMobil, which has incorporated the government of Guyana into its ranks. Guyana is granting oil concessions in an undeliminated maritime territory in total violation of international law. Unilateral disposal of a disputed territory is not permissible. But the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana persists in its illegal conduct. We denounce the fact that the government of the United States of America intends to militarize the situation. The Southern Command seeks to establish a military base in the contested territory, with the aim of creating a spearhead in its aggression against Venezuela and consolidating the plunder of our energy resources. 2 days ago, the National Assembly of Venezuela unanimously decided.
All right.
Yeah. So that's
very interesting.
That's gonna have to start with the fundamental question. You know what's the fundamental question? Is the Monroe Doctrine still alive?
I mean, was it ever really?
Well, it's the changes that been taking place in Latin America have always concerns the U.S. Or concerned the U.S. I remember a trip to Bolivia. I went to Bolivia a few years ago when I was still in Washington, and because at the time we had an issue with Morales, and what was that over?
Oil,
access to rare earth minerals.
Oh yeah.
Because Bolivia,
I mean, it's one of the two, right?
One of the two, you're right.
Rare minerals or oil.
This big deal here is also has to do now with the shift between Brazil and Argentina.
Yeah.
But this is not about that. Just that. The main one is for the agreement that just been reached between Venezuela and China under the banner of strategic partnership.
Yeah.
That's what's at the heart of it.
Yeah.
We know what it means. Anytime you see the term strategic partnership, anytime you see that, just FYI, guys, in the world of geopolitics, anytime you see the term strategic, assuming there is an agreement between the two parties, that's usually incorporate more than just joint military training, more than just loaning money. We're talking about vision here. We're talking about strategic objectives for both countries.
Yeah.
And in the case of Latin America, especially with Venezuela, because of the sanctions we've been imposing on them, which, by the way, we had about a year and a half ago, we had behind closed doors talks with the Venezuelan government to lift some of the sanctions if they let some oil comes to the US.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors. A lot of people had no clue. It wasn't even reported here. So this is what's at the heart of it.
Yeah.
But also because we are very concerned that now Argentina has been admitted to BRICS.
Yep.
You look at 3 major economies in Latin America or the whole South Americans. You look at Mexico, you look at Brazil, and you look at Argentina. Those 3 matters. Why Venezuela matter also is because why Venezuela matters also is because of oil and part of the OPEC member.
Yep.
So that is what's at the heart of it. And if you look at it, who's involved on the US side? Which energy company?
ExxonMobil.
Yeah, what does ExxonMobil has? Has a lot of contract. You don't see this is just for oil transactions, but manipulation of and this is why I started with, is the Monroe Doctrine still alive? Because that's what's at the heart of it. We never wanted any foreign power to come to the southern hemisphere. And well, how do you think other countries feel when we go to their side of the globe and operate?
So, well, I mean, I can tell you they don't feel great about it. And over the last few years, we've really heard about it, especially with the internet.
Yeah.
Those people, the people who have been affected, have really been speaking out about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to ignore that now. And
second of all this is, why are we going over there when we could at least reopen the pipelines, the gas pipelines that we shut it down ourselves? The idiot President Biden is doing that for what?
No, that's a great question.
Yeah, because to me, just, you create the problem and you're trying to pretend you are solving it when in reality you are the source of the problem. So
absolutely,
what gives me sort of any frame of mind to be talking to you when I know you are causing the problems to begin with? And this is where that issue of credibility comes in. We have none left on the global stage. I'll say it straightforward. Let alone we have amateurs when it comes down to foreign policy. There is no vision. I feel like we're just moving like a herd.
I think, honestly, to me, what it feels like is whoever's in power is basically just taking what's left, what's left from us, taking what's left from Americans, and just running away with as much money as possible.
Yeah. And this is what this oil did.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
That's what it genuinely feels like. That's what's happening. Is they're just stripping us of whatever's left, taking and running and getting off a sinking ship.
You're thinking about what the big global agenda is, and you put that in perspective with the reality of it. But this one, I believe, looking at it from outside in, I think it has to do with those shifts that's taking place on the landscape with, as I said, Argentina being admitted to BRICS, with Brazil and Argentina calling for a unified currency also. And I am sure if they do, what do you think Venezuela is going to do? What do you think Peru? What do you think Bolivia? What do you think even Mexico will end up doing? So this is why, because now it became evident that if we want to turn events in part of the world, you create tensions. It's the same thing we're seeing in Asia right now. And this is why you're seeing certain countries embarking on a certain policies, like our next country we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. So the next country that we're going to be
the next topic and the last one.
The next topic and the last one is, you're absolutely right, directly in line with that. And that is, Indonesia is taking de-dollarization very seriously right now. So they've announced that they've formed a national task force to widen use of local currency transactions with partner countries. So here's a quote from Indonesia's central bank. Bank Indonesia is confident that National LCT task force will be an effective coordination forum to strengthen policy synergy between government ministries and agencies in an effort to increase the use of local currencies in bilateral transactions between Indonesia and major trading partners. So that's Governor of Bank of Indonesia said in a press release. So we are watching in real time larger economies actively de-dollarize. And we saw a big push. So you said this, David, I think it's very poignant and very wise, that when the United States sanctioned Russia and pushed this Ukraine conflict, it pushed them over the edge. It pushed the countries over the edge that sanctions have been weaponized against. Because the problem with sanctions is that they tend to create new markets. And that's something very short-sighted by the States in terms of implementing those sanctioned policies. Because that's just the truth. The truth is, look, it's created new markets, and the sanctions tried to cripple Russia, and it didn't.
It backfired.
Not only did it backfire, Russia became friends then with China, with Iran, with all these other countries, instead of it shutting down Russia the way that the United States thought it would.
That's true.
So I think that this is a very interesting next step in the de-dollarization process that's happening.
But also because it precipitated that change. So this is why now, which doesn't get openly reported. I found that. We are asking Russia to go back to SWIFT. You guys know what the SWIFT system is, by which the transactions. So the SWIFT system is by which we have the major say in SWIFT. That's how we are able to sanction countries and so forth. So because Russia, we kind of block them from the SWIFT, so any transactions will not be done through the dollar. And we realized, wait a minute, other countries are dumping the dollar, conducting their bilateral trade in their own currencies. Now we are reaching out to Russia and asking, okay, well, we're still going to have some sanctions, but we like you to go back to SWIFT. Russia said, no, thank you. We're not interested. And this is where that shift is going. This is why when you take a country like Indonesia, and I've been arguing this for quite a while because I was seeing some articles from some entities coming out of Australia, especially the Australian National University. If you only know that university, its funding on the global program, it comes from Washington. So what they were trying to do is certain authors there, they're writing articles to create tensions inside, to foment it by creating doubt inside Indonesians. Like, for example, you say, Indonesia, it's going to be sucked into a conflict between. No. Indonesia can still maintain its neutrality without being sucked into any conflicts. So by the time you write articles like this, you are creating.
Creating those tensions.
So because Indonesia is realizing and seeing where the trends are going, unlike Philippines, which, by the way, I just find out some disturbing news about Philippines. They went ahead and cut the cord under the sea between them and regarding China's territory. Yeah, it's bad. I'm yet to dig into this later on, but here's the thing. So for Indonesia, because it expressed the same position of the ASEAN countries, they want to stay neutral, but not all of them are. You got Philippines, which is the weak link, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's the same argument I've always made regarding BRICS, with India being the weak link. In ASEAN, Philippines is being the weak link. And this is why those academics or academicians were trying to inject those kind of articles. And I had to call them out on it. Because it was manipulation. Because, by the way, guys, even in academia, there's massive manipulation that goes on. Just because somebody wrote a white paper, no, there's manipulation. So Indonesia is realizing, well, maybe it's about time for us to, and this is not new, by the way. Indonesia has been working on this for about a year. There's a video out there we did a year and a half ago. Still, I just saw it a week and a half ago. I was shocked and surprised. I did it with Ross back then. And we argued that Indonesia is going to dump the US dollar.
And here it is.
Because Indonesia is seeing the trend. The other thing that I can think of, why could this was a wake-up call for Indonesia, because Indonesia was bypassed by BRICS. It didn't meet the cut. And makes you wonder what was missing.
That's a great question.
It's just me thinking outside the box. So Indonesia saying to itself, we better get on this train before it leaves the station, because they saw who's now been invited into BRICS. You're looking at Saudi Arabia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Eritrea, Egypt, and there's 6 of them. I think I'm missing one. Argentina. So when you think about this, you think about just the 3 countries, the main ones. Iran, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. What do they have in common? Oil. What are the transactions and the transactions in oil? What currency are they conducted in?
Well, they used to be the US dollar. Not anymore.
And what did Saudi just did? They dumped the dollar in the transactions. Could it be that Indonesia is seeing this?
And that's the thing. It was coming, right? So and to be clear, a lot of oil transactions and a lot of transactions are still done in the US dollar. So I want to make sure that that's clear. It's not like all of a sudden everyone dumps the US dollar at once, okay? This is a process, and it's very important to pay attention to the fact that it is a process, because even here, Indonesia isn't saying we're going to dump all of US dollar. In fact, that's not quite the way that they're wording it at all. They're wording it as we're going to use our local currencies. So it's not even about, okay, well, let's dump the US dollar. What they're talking about is that they want to create something new.
Well, it's because they have to keep up with the trend that's taking place in the region. Remember, even India just dumped the dollar. So funny. Right after India dumped the dollar, all of a sudden Canada said that India was involved in assassination. So, and those are just trends that you have to pay attention to, because, like, again, nothing happens in a vacuum when it comes down to geopolitics.
Absolutely. Nothing happens in a vacuum. And I think you're right. Timing is absolutely everything. And, to the people out there who are saying, oh, well, the world will never de-dollarize. Oh, the dollar is still strong right now. Yes, right now. But things don't happen all at once. Things happen slowly, one step at a time. It's that boiling the frog saying, right? How do you boil a frog? You put it in cold water and then you raise the temperature 1 degree at a time. And so it doesn't know that it's being cooked alive. And so that's what we're watching happen right now, is one step at a time, one little thing at a time.
Yeah. So the dollar aspects of it is the idea of why Indonesia. I forgot what I was going to say. So,
I saw you, David. I saw you.
It came to me. So anyway, so this is basically what Indonesia is thinking ahead of time. Oh yeah, I was going to say, even the US dollar just marked the 10th month in a row with it's very strong. Well, the reason it is strong because other countries cannot dump the dollar because of the interest.
Right.
So
And
that's their
a huge
problem.
deal.
Yeah. This is why the dollar stays strong, but it won't be forever.
Right.
So we're seeing the changes coming on.
And unfortunately, in terms of the US dollar, you know, the US economy has a massive debt problem. And on Rumble, I showed the debt clock, but it's a severe problem. And our politicians seem to be acting like it's not a big deal, but it's
because
a big deal.
Because they are becoming millionaires at the expense of.
But it's insane to me, you know, like people who pollute the air, for example, or people who massively pollute. Do they not know that their children also live in this world? Right? It's like you think these little things you can get away with them, but you still have to live in a polluted world. You still have to live in a corrupt world. And I don't know, maybe they live in a completely different situation than we do.
Anyway, so we guys, tomorrow we're doing a Rumble tomorrow.
Rumble, right? Let me add it. You guys, we have a Rumble that we do live every Wednesday, and we do it because we want to talk a little bit more freely than we can here. We appreciate our YouTube audience. We appreciate YouTube very much. But there's things that we would like to say that we can't say. So that our link is down below, rumble.com/geopolitics and conflict. But check us out on Rumble, Geopolitics and Conflict, every Wednesday. We're able to talk a lot more freely. And honestly, it feels so good.
Indeed. So please don't forget to hit the like button, which we appreciate it.
And one more thing, David. Yeah. We are giving away David's book for free for a very limited time. For the next maybe week, maybe 2 weeks, we're going to be giving away David's book. And it's geopoliticsandconflict.com/Saud. So if you guys want it, it is absolutely free. We won't spam you. Unsubscribe anytime. And yeah, check it out. We wanted to do it as a gift to you guys. You've been around a long time and your support means the world to us. So,
and by the way, there is something inside that book that is redacted.
Oh,
so you guys been long enough with us. Once you start reading and you get to that part, you might be able to figure it out. I can't disclose it, but you might be able to figure it out. Anyway, guys, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. As always, prepare yourself for changing the world order. Till next time. Bye-bye.